From the Canadian countryside, we head back to familiar territory as America's National Park of Speed hosts round 8 of the Porsche Owners Club Series. And for 70 years, this has really been a true titan of fantastic motorsport in North America. Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Global SimRacing Channel and what's more for round 8 of the Porsche Owners Club Series. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and joining me in the booth today will be race racing driver Joey Atterbury. Alongside us, we've got director Christian Deploy, who will be using cameras by Dougie Beard. Now, Road America has been steeped in motorsports tradition here in this part of the world, and is really, truly a test of anything. High speed, heavy braking zones, minimal places for overtaking. But what does it really mean to get into the nitty-gritty when it comes to Road America? Well, let's find out everything all about that on our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But two of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why.
Well, Joey, Road America, America's National Park of Speed, a true heirloom in the world of sports car racing here in North America. What are the drivers going to be contending with here tonight?
Well, it's one of my favorite racetracks in the entire world, located right here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Just over 4 miles in length, 14 turns. And what are the drivers going to be contending with? They're going to be contending with a lot of horsepower down the straightaways and then big-time brake zones that you got to be confident with that brake pedal pressure to make sure you get those cars slowed down towards those apex speeds. A couple of corners to kind of look out for. Turn number 5. Always one of the best passing opportunities. And then look towards the other side of the track map. The carousel, turn number 10 that leads into the kink. One of the fastest corners in all of motorsports. Usually single file. If you get caught up in traffic there, it can spell trouble. And then turn 12, Canada Corner. Another good passing opportunity. And from there on out, Alex, it's kind of an uphill climb all the way to the start-finish line.
Yeah, you've also got that wonderful accent of the natural topography here in Elkhart Lake, just off of Route 67, whereby you've got that crest going over across the stripe on the start-finish straight, and then down into Turn 1. You've got 2 descents, 2 undulations that really can sometimes catch drivers out. I mean, it's been running for as long as the Porsche Owners Club as well, both established back in 1955. And, of course, we're going to be running the GTEs and the GT4s like last time out at round 7 when we went to Marsport, aka Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. But it's good to be back here just north of the Midwest. So realistically, we've got a really big old grid as we are in the latter throes of time qualifying at the moment. Just under 5 minutes to go until the ticker hits 0. But let's have a look at the scores on the standings so far coming into this 8th round out of number 13. Andrew Chinichi, I think, again, not with us, but also one of the big things about this championship, 4 drop scores allowed for each of the drivers. Jad Duncan and BJ Fulton round out the top 3, with Mark Rondeau and Dustin Heindel completing your top 5. Joey, what's happening in the other class as well? I think GT4s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they're using the Cayman GT4 platform, and right now it is very tight. Christopher Marciniak, you see, only a single point ahead of Federico Del Toro in that gray came in with the red wheels. Larry Haas hanging out there in the third place position with Rob Russell. Only call it 9 points behind or so. I can't do the math in fourth. And then John Momeyer sitting back here in fifth place. Adam Abrams, Sam Mayorga, Matt Hollander, Viverko, and Baxter all included in this points championship. I think we got about 7 of them out here at Road America.
Yeah, I think so. Also, we have to not forget a couple of the main people that make these kind of things happen. Of course, well, it's going to be Porsche. There is no substitute. You can head to Porsche.com for more information about their updated range. Maybe even you want to get a used car at a steal price, you can go to Porsche.com to find out. And then, of course, Top Gun MG, helping financial advisors be the best of the best. You can contact them today at topgunmg.com. So once again, that is topgunmg.com for Top Gun marketing. But you know what? We really do need to hit trackside very, very shortly, because we do have 2 of the talismans of current one-make series racing in the Porsche Motorsport family. Of course, it's round 8 out of 13, 40-minute sprint race. We've got the Porsche 911 GTE and the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4. And if drivers hit trouble, well, luckily enough, they've got 2 spare cars standing by in pit road to help them get back on their way rather quickly. One of the good things about these cars, Joey, is that good old flat 6 boxer engine. You know, the GTs will be screaming to around about 8,500 RPMs. The 718 Cayman's 9,000 RPM. And, well, BJ Fulton leading the way in the GTE class, and Federico Del Toro leading in the GT4s when it comes to qualifying, as we're running at 20 degrees centigrade air to temperature. Oh, I kind of missed that from my recent trip to Portimao for Porsche Sports Cup Suisse. Just hearing those flat 6s absolutely scream the house down.
They do sound amazing, and you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think that at least this version of the RSR was still in the 4-liter, which ultimately kind of became the platform for the GT3 stuff, and then ultimately, once again, into the brand new version of those Cayman GT4s with that 4-liter revving out past 8,000 RPM, making 500 plus horsepower. So yeah, I would say that the powertrain has gone through several iterations. You know, I drove a Cup car way back when it had still the 3.6 liters in them before they jumped up to the 3.8. So they've gone through quite a bit of displacement changes through the years, and they always seem to get better and faster.
Yeah, things are looking really tight in GTE qualifying. It's Fulton, Scott, Duncan and Scott that are covered by just under 0.09 of a second, so 83,000 separating the top 3. And then Viverko as well. Jad Duncan goes top 2-minute .146. We are 60 seconds away from the ticker striking 0. So really wonderful. Oh, look at that. BJ Fulton, that livery is absolutely awesome. I'm sorry to say, the chrome variation on the good old Martini livery looking wonderfully resplendent on that 911 RSR GTE. I mean, that's one of the things I love about attention to detail. Where you see a car like that just roaring around the circuit, the sunshine glinting off the hood on the front of the vehicle, with the headlights ablaze. It's a wonderful sight. But Jad Duncan nearly a 10th.5 quicker in GTE. Federico Del Toro, Rob Russell and Christopher Marciniak, they have all decided to put time on qualifying, and they have been split by 0.8 of a second. So Federico Del Toro and the number 27 Cayman doing a really good job, but Jad Duncan a 10th.5 in front of this man here, who's on a very quick lap at the moment. Is about halfway through, so 6 sectors here on the iRacing version of Road America. And then we're getting towards the end of things as they stand. Jad Duncan, I'm not too sure if he's making some improvements over the last, you know, out of sectors 3, 4, and 5. And Fulton himself has gone he's gone nearly a 10th.5 quicker than Duncan in the middle sector. So both are on for improvements here, Joey.
Yeah, and Jad is actually just call it a corner ahead of BJ Fulton, who we're riding on board with. So they're going to be crossing the line pretty much simultaneously, and the checkered flag has fallen. So this is it in terms of those qualifying laps. I see Jad in the number 83 powering out of what is turn number 14, although this lap from BJ looks to be a heater as well. I actually think that BJ Fulton is on track to potentially steal away provisional pole position, as Jad Duncan already gives up his lap.
Yeah, could we be looking at the only sub 2-minute lap? Yes, 1:59. Oh no, it was 52 thousandths off of the magic 2 minute. And here's Jeffrey Shulam in the number 18 car, another interesting livery, very much in the vein of the late Ken Block, and also having the Hoonigan sticker emblazoned on the front bumper, as he's going to come out of the final corner, go up the rise here underneath the NTT data bridge. Of course, NTT, for those not already in the know, the title sponsor of the IndyCar series that has already got kicking and screaming underway with a brand new announced crew in the form of Will Buxton, Townsend Bell, and the Mayor of Hinchtown, James Hinchcliffe. Michael Tercey trying to improve from 4th position. He's the only GT4 car out there at the moment. How's he looking, Joey, in terms of sector times?
Yeah, well, right now he's actually sitting 4th in that GT4 class, and looking in terms of how much faster he needs to go in order to jump up a couple positions. He only needs about a quarter of a second faster than what he's turned, and he'll jump up into 3rd, probably past Christopher Marciniak. But that was a little bit wide there through Canada Corner. You can kind of get away with it, but he was tracking to the good before turn number 12, and now he's actually lost a little bit of time. Let's see if he can make up a little bit through turn number 14 here, but I fear that the damage has already been done on the lap.
Yeah, so Michael Tercey in the number 8, currently running P4 in the GT4 class, bails out of the lap. That is going to conclude qualifying for him. Dustin Heindel still about halfway through his 8th lap in qualifying. There's only literally about less than a minute to go until the session times out, so Dustin might not complete that lap. But BJ Fulton takes pole position in GTE with a 2-minute .052, pipping Jad Duncan on the final push lap in qualifying by just under a 1/10 of a second. And Dylan Scott rounds out the top 3 in the GTE class, all using the 911 RSR GTE, a pretty brilliant car during its days in the FIA World Endurance Championship, when GTEs were de rigueur before they switched over to the more relevant and respective GT3 class cars, which have now in their 2nd year in the World Endurance Championship. But the grid is now set in stone for the 40-minute adventure around America's National Park of Speed, and it's going to be BJ Fulton and Jad Duncan on the front row of the GTEs, followed by Dylan Scott and Michael Bolton. Dustin Heindel and Mark Rondeau round out your top 3 rows ahead of Jeffrey Shulam and Daniel Viverco. Doug Boccigioni and Robert Leclerc round out the top 10 in GTE, with James Baxter rounding out 11th. Joey, how's the things looking for the grid for GT4s, my friend?
Yeah, it is Federico Del Toro that is your pole sitter in those Cayman GT4s. That lap time of 2:15.908. Rob Russell going to share row number 1 with him, rolling off in 2nd place. Christopher Marciniak rolling off in 3rd, with Michael Tercey lined up next to him in 4th. Adam Abrams in 5th, Larry Haast in 6th, and then John Momeyer is going to round out our 7-car field.
So good to see nearly 20 cars on the grid, 18 in total, so 11 911 RSR GTEs and then 7 Cayman 718 GT4s. So just waiting for Jad Duncan to grid up, and good to see some people already getting engaged in the chat, most notably going Cody Listener saying, let's go Chris, and let's go Adam. So so that would be Marciniak and Adam Abrams, I would imagine, on that particular point. But now Jad Duncan is now gridded up alongside BJ Fulton. The Porsche pace car peels away, and the start's going to be very, very crucial. That all-important run down to T1 here, Joey. You've got to really hit the brakes at the optimum time and just not overcommit with regards to overspeed and maybe even a little bit of early braking to try and get that car rotated in the corner. But it is going to be a fast scramble into T1, particularly with the GTEs.
I think it always is, and it's pretty narrow coming up the front straightaway here at Road America. So if you make those, call it lane change maneuvers, you can find yourself being pinched into that outside, or I should say inside wall, or even worse, dipping tires off into the grass when you don't mean to on driver's left-hand side. So the start always crucial here at Road America, and then also that run down to turn number 5.
So we're getting ready for 40 minutes of Porsche Owner Club's action here at Road America, America's National Park of Speed. Pace car in pit road as it's Fulton and Duncan controlling the pace at the front end of the field. Robert Leclerc has pulled over to the right-hand side, but it is going to be Fulton and Duncan who are going to keep it line and stern for the moment. Now they start to accelerate. And we officially go green flag racing here at Road America for round 8 out of 13. And it's nearly side by side between Fulton and Duncan. Dylan Scott slotting in behind the number 82, but has to hold back for the moment. Oh, 2 spinners, 2 off track. Big old first turn incident. Dustin Heindel, Mark Rondeau with the 2 that probably more than likely went off, spinning backwards. And Michael Bolton goes off at turn 3.
Yeah, this is a chaotic opening lap, and now we've got these Cayman GT4 leaders intermixed into those cars that went off at turn number 1 as well as turn number 3. I can report that Federico Del Toro hangs on to the lead, but the big mover's been Christopher Marciniak. He's in that white Cayman with the red highlights. He's jumped up a position into second. And remember, that's crucial in terms of the championship. He's only a single point behind Federico as these cars are pretty deep into turn number 5. He's going to lose that second place position.
Yeah, Heindel and Rondeau going around the outside into the approach into turn 6. That is something very, very hairy right at that point. GTEs trying to get past GT4s rather rapidly, and it nearly came to blows as, they just... that just goes to show how quickly across the front. That was Mark Rondeau in the Hot Wheels liveried 911 RSR GTE Porsche cutting across the front of Federico Del Toro, who might have had a bit of a Code Brown scare right there as the number 11 just decided to chop across the front, but that was so hairy. We now go back to the drivers in the GTE class. James Baxter in the number 9, the Californian, closing in and Jeffrey Schulem. And Baxter's going to lose a position out to Viverco, but again, it's just so close. And one of the things we love about here on the Global Sim Racing Channel is the attention to detail with liveries, but Baxter's around. Oh dear.
Yeah, he got a big old shove from Michael Bolton going up the hill into turn number 13, and now he's going to cut across a racetrack. Thankfully, he's got enough time here before these Cayman GT4s kind of arrive on the crime scene. And you see the number 35, that's Marciniak. He's been getting bullied even more here this lap. That number 8 car of Michael Tercy's trying to set up an over-under coming out at turn number 14. But remember, it was Marciniak that was in second place after that initial start on the green flag here just 1 lap ago. Now he finds himself potentially even losing 4th.
That is one place you do not want to lose the back end of the car on, and that is on the start-finish straight coming across the stripe. Marciniak, as you rightly said there, Joey, has been bullied. He's now down to P5. Glad to report the following, that Robert Leclerc in the number 12, who pulled across to the right-hand side of the start-finish straight, has managed to get the number 12 going again.
And we've got a yellow flag on the racetrack, by the way. We went yellow at the very end of that Cayman lap number 1. I know that they can do that here at POC based off of those incident limits on that first lap.
Yeah, so we are now under safety car conditions, so the pace car at the front. Dylan Scott now leads out of BJ Fulton and Jad Duncan, so Dylan making early hay whilst the sun shines here at Elkhart Lake. And got, I mean, the good thing was we saw this great battle between BJ, Jad and Dylan was slotting in behind BJ, trying to go into T1, trying to get the undercut on Jad going through turn number 1, so Dylan's made the best of it, but it just goes to show how quickly, you said, Joey, it's very, in terms of the width of Road America. We're going to have a look at the replay. Now, this is what we saw at the start, where, it was the hooligan car that caused the cannonball effect, and Dustin Heindel, the Californian in the 117, found himself backwards. And so we also saw the same with Mark Rondeau, and then they ended up sliding their way through the GT4 traffic as they recovered from the turn 1 misadventure, let's say, exit stage left and into the gravel.
And how about giving some props to that GT4 field, right? It's not always easy to get that green flag, and then all of a sudden 3 or 4 cars are off into turn number 1, and a couple more cars are off down into turn number 3. I think this was that second incident. Let's see what happens. Michael Bolton gets a little bit wide there, turn number 3, but I actually like that. He took avoiding action not to run into the car directly in front of him. then merges back on the racetrack directly in front of the rest of the field. But I thought that was pretty safe and done in an okay manner. But it was a nice job from those Caymans to have heads up, right? It can be very difficult when a car is all of a sudden rapidly approaching in your mirror, kind of like what we saw at the top of the hill and around turn number 6 and 7, about halfway through that first lap. So no further incidents from the multi-class stuff.
No, but the turn 1, lap 1 incident was unfortunately caused by the front bumper of Jeffrey Shulham in the number 18 Hoonigan car. He put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons, so to speak, and then all hell broke loose at turn 1. And that was something we were saying at the top of the broadcast about what, that you need to make it through turn 1. But yeah, like you say, the GT4s having that heads up saying, okay, right, we've got 2 very quick cars closing in on us and we need to hold our line. And the unwritten rule of sports cars, as everyone knows, is that if you are the faster traffic, you need to make your way safely past, but normally if you're the slower traffic, you are the ones that have to keep your racing line. And it's about the respect and also the racecraft that the drivers do have. Here we have the onboard from Jeffrey Shulham, straight smack bang. Oh, it was a double bubble there for the number 18. We got into the 2 cars, Heindel and Rondeau, pretty much at the same time. He hit the back of one and ended up going into the other. So we do have the pace car lights off, so we will be safety car in this lap. And it's about how Dylan Scott really times the restart, because once that pace car peels off into the distance, he's going to set the tone and the pace of how we get going back under green flag racing here, Joey.
Yeah, and it's going to essentially be turned into a shorter sprint race, right? These pace car laps are about 4 minutes a lap. Call it 3 minutes and 45 seconds, it looks like, is what the field did that last time by. So take 4 minutes off the board. We'll have about 29 minutes of racing left to go. So I think that all of the drivers can probably take a sigh of relief that initial start was over. But now we got them all packed up again. I do like that they've got those faster pairs. So let's say if you were involved in that turn 1 incident, you can come down, get your brand new car, get back out there. Sure, you probably lost a bunch of track position, but you can still go out there and play on the playground with all your buddies again.
Yeah, looks like that might be the case for the number 12, Robert Leclerc. He was on his marks in the pit lane for just over 35 seconds. As we have had a little off track, I think, from Mark Rondeau, just trying to warm up the tyres, warm up the brakes on the 911 RSR GTE. But it's going to be Dylan Scott leading from BJ Fulton on the restart, Jad Duncan third. Great work by the 58 of Doug Boccigioni. He's made up 5 spots from 9th on the starting grid. He's now running in the 4th position at the moment, ahead of Jeffrey Shulham, Mr. Pinball Wizard, and then Daniel Viverka's also made up 2 spots. Started 8th, now runs 6th, but it's going to be about that crucial restart. Del Toro, Russell, Marciniak with Abrams and Tercy ran out your starting 5 on the restart here. But again, it's wonderful how the pace car just brings everyone back together, Joey, and it's about the roller coaster ride restarting again very, very soon on lap 3.
And I think if there's one driver that actually really enjoyed this was in the Cayman GT4 class, Christopher Marciniak. Remember how I had reported that really during the last half of that opening lap, he'd kind of been bullied around and dropped all the way back to 5th place on that front straightaway. So I think that just kind of through when that yellow actually came out, finds himself sitting back here in 3rd place with kind of a fresh little reset on that track position, try to not lose anymore.
Yeah, so the drivers now getting themselves steeled and ready for battle once again here at round 8 of 13 for the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League here at America's National Park of Speed Road America. And it's going to be down to Dylan Scott to control proceedings. They're just coming out of the kink at turn 11 before heading into Kettle Bottoms and then into Canada Corner, which then leads us into Thunder Valley round at turns 13 and 14, and then we've got the Road America straight heading down into turn number 1. So as soon as that pace car peels away in front of Dylan Scott, which it's going to do now. Dylan Scott will now dictate the pace, and he will decide when he pulls the trigger and puts the pedal to the metal, as now we start to get into a straight line here between the top quintet. So it's down to Dylan Scott. When he sees that green flag, he will give it the Hail Mary as we wait with bated breath. Round 8 of the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League is back under green flag racing, and a good start once again by Dylan Scott. Jad Duncan now trying to see if he can put the blockers on Boccigioni, who's looking to his left-hand side. Bolter's got quickly passed around the outside of Jeffrey Schulem. There's now Duncan again. It looks a little bit of a wide approach, but carries the momentum through, does BJ Fulton. But Dylan Scott already opening up a 6/10 of a second lead on the restart. We go out of turn number 3, and it's the run down the Moraine sweep. But yeah, good start there by Dylan, Joey. He's really got a good measure of that restart, but Fulton is the one that's got the real amount of pressure. Look at the peloton behind him.
A much cleaner start, I think, from everybody. And now Jad Duncan making the deep move down into turn number 5, and it was almost Boccigioni in that green car that almost got into the bumper, but nicely executed from that yellow and black number 83. Now you see kind of Doug on that defensive back foot as Michael Bolton takes advantage. He's going to actually have the driver's line, the inside line, so it's going to be Doug that loses not 1 but 2 positions now headed down into turn number 7.
Yeah, Jeffrey Schulem towards his outside as they go through T7 into the Hurry Downs. Meantime, Federico Del Toro holds the lead on the restart. And while the bullying for Christopher Marciniak has happened again, he's back down into P5 behind Rob Russell in the number 7 and Michael Tercy in the number 8. And a little bit of a wobble there for Marciniak once again, this time trying to go into turn 8 off of the Hurry Downs and through into turns 9 and 10 at Carousel. But, well, on the restart, Dylan Scott got a 6/10 of a second advantage. His lead is now nearly 1 3/4 seconds, but more drama. And that was Boccigioni into the back of Schulem, and it has caused a lot of damage on the front end of that number 58. And it was Dustin Heindel that got caught up in the crossfire, an unwilling participant. There's a lot of dust kicked up into the background, and the GT4s are very shortly going to come through it. There they are, and a change for 3rd place. Michael Tercy through on Rob Russell at turn number 11 at the kink.
I've been pretty impressed with that number 8, that white and red car of Michael Tercy, who finds himself in the 3rd place position now. He had some excellent moves on our initial opening green flag start of the race, and then here on this restart, it's gone up a couple positions once again. So keep an eye on that number 8. Maybe his racecraft will be able to take him a little bit more forward, but I was going to say, you know, we had a really good restart up front there until about Canada Corner, where we saw, what was that, about 3 more cars kind of getting knocked off into the sand.
I think in the words of the Who's Roger Daltrey, well, there was definitely a mean pinball being played there. Let's have a look at the replay. So it's Schulem ahead of Boccigioni, tags the back of the number 18, spins him around. Well, yeah. That's the thing. As soon as someone gets tagged, oh, Michael Tercy's had a drama here. Now, was that a possible incident that caused that issue there? I'm sure we'll get a replay very, very shortly. But it just goes to show once again that it's about just measuring it well here at Road America, because of the fact that you've got the runoff area so close to the tarmac, and it's not that wide here, so you've got to be, it's like millimeters and inches that you've really got to consider here. So Boccigioni and Heindel, Heindel literally rear-ending Boccigioni after Boccigioni had gone into the back of Jeffrey Schulem, who's dropped down to 9th in the GTE classification at the moment. Heindel just hit the back of Boccigioni in a randy span, 180 degrees the wrong way, rejoined safely, however, I might add. But Dylan Scott has now got a 1.7 second advantage. Let's have a look at the GSRC replay here. Michael Tercy turns it in. Oh, I think he's going to lose it on his own. Lost it on his own there to the number 8. So, yeah, it can just be too much greediness on the curves. But BJ Fulton closing in on Jad Duncan. Jad's just gone fastest of anybody in the race so far. 2-minute .904 by the number 83. But Fulton we run on board with from the roof cam on board the wonderfully liveried number 82 RSR GTE. He's got that gap down to about 0.3 of a second as they come out of turn number 3 and head down the Moraine sweep into 5. Hopefully the closing rate here might work out from Joey because Fulton is closing that gap. He was nearly 2.5 tenths of a second quicker, and here comes the closing speed, 0.15 of a second. Fulton might go for it or decides against it this time around.
He took a good big chunk out of him in those first couple corners, and then as we were riding on board, you saw that slipstream effect really kind of pull him up into that rear wing, if you will, but wasn't quite close enough down into turn number 5. Chad Duncan's doing a really good job of just kind of hitting his marks, hitting his brake zones, make sure that he doesn't lose any sort of time and kind of open the door automatically for BJ. But got to remember that chrome-colored number 82 is your pole sitter for today's race. So we know he's got the speed in it. It's just a matter of actually getting up there and racing back up to the front.
Yeah, and the sooner he gets past Chad Duncan, the better for his sake, as we see Dustin Heindel and Doug Boccigioni trying to make their way through. They've got past through on Larry Haas here in the 266, the driver from California, who's battling away with John Momea in the number 6 car. So that's the battle for P5 in GT4. So again, just really good to see these wonderful different liveries showcased on both the 911 RSR GTEs and the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4s. We are about 4 minutes away from half time, but here is the run that BJ Fulton needs on Chad Duncan. Less than 1/10 of a second. Fulton pulls to the inside line on Duncan on the run down into T1, down the first dip, down to the second. Fulton decides discretion, better part of valor this time, nearly carried a bit too much speed through that opening corner as they head down the hill into turn 3. And Fulton, I think now is the time for him with about 3.5 minutes to go. Oh, slight wobble there from Duncan. He just went a little bit wide, and Fulton is going to pull it to the outside down the moraine sweep. It can be difficult to pull it around the outside of the moraine sweep to get the undercut into turn 5, as we see picture in picture Dustin Heindel getting through on the back marker traffic, and he's just got through on Adam Abrams. But BJ Fulton once again he's there or thereabouts, but when he tries an overtake, it's close but no cigar for the 82.
Yeah, and it's actually brought up that other black and yellow car. So Michael Bolton has now kind of entered the picture because Fulton and Duncan have been battling. I do think that Fulton is probably the fastest car of this trio. Chad Duncan's definitely holding him up in terms of that ultimate lap time out there. So you got to wonder, how anxious is Fulton going to be to get around Chad Duncan? Because we see Dylan Scott starting to kind of run away off into the distance. It was about 2.2 seconds. Now it's about 2.9 seconds between first and second, that gap. So the more that this kind of battling goes on, the further away the lead gets from BJ Fulton if he can go catch him.
Yeah, also we mentioned about the 2 spare cars that drivers have at their disposal if they need it. Well, Dustin Heindel has used one, so has Doug Boccigioni and James Baxter in the number 9 RSR GTE, who currently runs 14th overall. We're 2 minutes away from half time as our leaders will cross the line to start lap number 8 here at Road America. So Dylan Scott has a lead. Mark Rondeau has decided to dive into pit lane in the number 11 whilst running 5th. But again, Duncan just having the measure of BJ Fulton at the moment. BJ just really carrying. One of the things I'm seeing about BJ Fulton at the moment here, Joey, is the way that he's able to carry a little bit more speed, maybe about 3 to 5 miles an hour coming out of turn number 1. He's trying to use the same tactic through 3, but he gets a little bit loose on the back end. But here we see the battle between Rob Russell and Adam Abrams for P2 in the GT4 class. Russell deciding to go towards the outside, bringing him into the inside line for the next right-hander. And Russell goes through, but a little love tap from behind, courtesy of Adam Abrams, who was right with him. And here comes Christopher Marciniak, who's right with them now.
I think that Rob got the pass done and then just kind of parked it at the apex of Canada Corner. That's why we saw the contact between Adam and Rob there, just trying to carry whatever momentum he could in that red number 704. But Rob essentially just kind of parked that car right at apex, which, you can do. I think that's fair racecraft down there. I think that Marciniak was definitely able to kind of close in that gap. So Federico Del Toro's done an excellent job to run away in the Cayman class lead. He's about 5 seconds up the road from this trio that we're watching of Rob, Adam, and Christopher.
Yeah, we're seeing speeds of around about 270 kilometers an hour recorded, well, most notably by our race leader, Dylan Scott in the GTEs, 270.4 kph recorded. So we are seeing a lot of drivers being able to use that little bit of slipstream. BJ Fulton being one, he's recorded 267 kph, and then you look at the speeds of the 718 Caymans, 236, 237, 238. We've even seen Michael Tursey 241 as we're seeing the battle for P5. Laurie Haase getting through on Michael Tursey, well, John Momea trying to get through. Again, these two have been battling away tooth and nail here, Joey, and good to see that there's some great competition up and down the order here in the Porsche Owners Club.
Larry still can't find a way around John Momeyer there in that ASU Sun Devil machine, that number 6 car, as they go down through turn number 8. One of the steeper downhill sections here at Road America, and then, of course, it feeds into one of the most famous corners, the carousel, as we jump up to this trio again. Doesn't look like the order has changed at all. It's still Rob Russell leading, Adam Abrams leading, Christopher Marciniak over this 3-pack right here. Charge it down into what is Canada corner. Heavy brake zone all the way at the bottom of the circuit. And actually all 3 of them kind of run a little bit wide off of apex. I think it was Adam Abrams that kind of got the worst of the bunch, and now that just kind of brings in Marciniak right into the tail here. Let's see about through turn number 14. Let's see if they can capitalize at all. Looks all pretty even on the exit, but Christopher in that slipstream range.
Yeah, you can see a lot of the debris as they run wide coming out of turn 14, just flicking up into the air thanks to the iRacing debris model that we've seen for quite a time now, having had its introduction a little bit earlier on this year. But Christopher Marciniak looking for the move on Adam Abrams into turn 1. Oh, that was close and then some. Abrams just parks it over the front of Marciniak, and Marciniak has got absolutely nothing to say in the matter. Momea trying to go back up the inside of Haase as they go side by side. A car's width between them as they go down the hill through 2 into the right-hander coming up at 3. And Haase makes it through in the 266 on John Momea in the number 6 car. So great to see this battle here. And Michael Tursey, you can see in the far background in the shot as they run under the Sargento cheese lorry board here at Road America, saying that we're real cheese people. Well, of course, Wisconsin, known for its dairy products, ladies and gentlemen. If you know your geography when it comes to where, oh dear. Momea had a bit of a Code Brown moment coming out of turn 5 there, Joey. The car was a bit wayward at the back end.
Yeah, he got a little bit loose down there at turn number 5 out. Oh, and then check this out. Christopher Marciniak almost into the door of Adam Abrams. Coming out of what was turn number 8 there, I think that Adam kind of got a little bit wide, just like how we saw John Momeyer down in turn number 4, and now it's Marciniak just trying to get to the inside. He's not going to be able to do anything right here. The kink is pretty much just a lift in these cars and hustle it through this very fast right-hander, but if you run a little bit wide, you can get the run down into Canada corner. It looks like Adam's going to be able to kind of hold him off from here. About 2.5 car lengths is a pretty deep send to throw it down the inside of turn number 12, but Marciniak does a great job and actually gets the traction off of the corner too, cuts it down to about 0.5 car length.
Yeah, and Abrams at the moment just trying to keep the 704 parked on the racing line. Marciniak trying everything in his power. He's going to run a little bit deep there, a little bit later on the brakes coming out of turn number 14. So could this be the opportunity that the number 35, Christopher Marciniak, needs to close in on Adam Abrams in the number 704 just up ahead? This is the battle for P3. Meantime, 2nd, 3rd and 4th are really starting to close in on each other. So Jad Duncan versus BJ Fulton has just dipped into pit lane from P3. That's meant that Michael Bolton in the number 127 has gone up to 3rd. And Marciniak has a big wobble. That was not what he wanted there. Going into turn 1, the back end slipping all over the shop. And that just goes to show how quickly that if you make one overcorrection, it can really make the back end step out to the wrong side. Or, Jeffrey Schulem now in pit road. So we are seeing a spate of pit stops occurring. Rondo, Heindel, Boccigioni, Baxter, they've all pitted. Looks like Robert Leclerc in the number 12 has actually unfortunately retired after lap 6. And he was 3 minutes and 50 seconds on pit road. But this man here, Dylan Scott, 2.6 seconds ahead of Jad Duncan, and he's now starting to close in on a few of the GT4s. I think that is Christopher Marciniak just up ahead. Yes, it is. And then Adam Abrams in P3 in the GT4 class. But Dylan Scott just tearing through the tarmac here at Road America as if everyone else was standing still here, Joey.
I think it's time to start paying attention to those pit stops and the potential strategy games that can kind of be played here. So BJ Fulton, I think, was our first domino to fall in terms of the front runners as we watch Dylan Scott have to make his way through this Cayman GT4 traffic. And what is that doing? It's slowing down the lap time. BJ Fulton saw that kind of on the horizon, came down pit road this time, and what does he do? Comes out into clean air, while Jad Duncan, while Dylan Scott are having to be slowing themselves up, passing these Cayman GT4 cars. Could this be the undercut in the strategy that BJ Fulton was looking for to at least get him around this car, Jad Duncan, up in second place?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that underlying strategy call that drivers have to make and saying, okay, who am I actually racing with? As Daniel Viverko has a slight off track. Michael Bolton pits from P3. Daniel Viverko is about 14.5 seconds adrift. It could be next to pit, but BJ Fulton was the first driver to really give us an indication on the front runners on who was going to pit first. So stick some litres of gas in the tank and see how you fare from there. Viverko now nearly 16 seconds off of Bolton, who has yet to hit his marks in pit road, but BJ Fulton in that wonderfully chrome martini liveried number 82 RSR GTE now will start powering over the hill onto the main straightaway here at the Road America straight, and then we'll go across the line now. So very easily going to say that, well, Michael Bolton, he's just coming out of pit road, so Fulton's pipped him. So that is one car that BJ Fulton has managed to get past, but still the top three, Scott, Duncan and Viverko, rounding out your top three in the GTE classification. They have all yet to pit so far. GT4s, it's Del Toro from Russell, Abrams, Haza and Momeyer that have yet to pit. Christopher Marciniak and Michael Tercy have already pitted so far, as Jad Duncan makes his way through on the GT4 class leader, the number 27 of Del Toro. But it's going to be, as you rightly said, Joey, the key point now is, when does Dylan Scott pit? Same with Jad Duncan, same with Daniel Viverko, and how much of an undercut that BJ Fulton has managed to pull out of the magician's hat here tonight.
And when it comes to those pit stop times, BJ Fulton was stationary for about 7 seconds. Remember, we were watching Michael Bolton do that stop. 8.6 seconds for Michael Bolton. So just a longer stationary stop is really kind of what killed that 127 in terms of his fight for the podium. But we still have yet to see our two leaders. Dylan Scott goes by pit road entrance one more time. Same thing with Jad Duncan. I wouldn't be surprised to see these leaders really stretch it all the way. And remember, we had that safety car where we had the 2 laps under yellow flag. So they'll actually be able to stretch it pretty close to the end before they have to stop.
Yeah, I mean, you were saying, what was it? Probably we would nearly double the amount of time for in comparison with a push lap. Oh, Daniel Viverko has got some indentation on the front bumper of that. He's decided to take a leaf out of Ayrton Senna's book from the 1980s during his time at Lotus in Formula One back in the day. Wonderful to see that livery on the car here. Yeah, Boccigioni's just had an off track as well. Oh, and that's got some heavy damage to the left rear quarter panel and the diffuser. So Boccigioni has had a big old off. The left rear has taken the brunt of the damage. So that's not really going to help anything with regards to the aerodynamics on the rear end of that RSR. So is he going to pull it into pit lane? Yep, he's going to use that second and final. I don't know if I think he's might have used one spare car already. So he could initiate the fast repair again here, Joey, and say, well, let's just get that final spare car in and make sure I can bring it home, as we've got just over 10 minutes to go until the checkered.
This strategy call is becoming more and more interesting as we get the replay here of what happened to Doug. Just looks like Canada corner and too much rolling speed through the middle of the corner. Couldn't get the car turned enough, and then, like you said, just heavy damage on the left side. But back to the strategy call. Last lap time out of Chad Duncan here, a 2:02.2. Remember, we had said that BJ Fulton already made his pit stop. His last lap time in clean air, a 2:01.4. So 0.8 of a second faster than what Chad Duncan was able to do. And I mean, it was even half a second faster than what Dylan Scott, our leader, was able to do. And this time by Dylan Scott, a 2:01.4. So can kind of match BJ Fulton's pace, but this will be very, very interesting to see where this car that's been out on the fresh tires for a couple laps now blends out compared to our leaders who have stretched it so long.
Yeah, Viverco's just decided to pull the trigger and dive down into pit road, and his last lap before crossing the stripe, not including this one, was a 2:03.6, so 2.2 seconds slower than the man here. Well, that was a late dive into pit road there, Adam Abrams, nearly cutting off the nose of BJ Fulton in the process. So Fulton does go up to P3. He's 35 seconds behind Chad Duncan, who in turn is 3 seconds behind our race leader, Dylan Scott. James Baxter has just ended up off track. So could be some dramas there for the number 9, currently running 9th at the moment, started 11th in the GTE classification. 7.9 seconds on his marks in pit road for Daniel Viverco. Chad Duncan's just binned it. Oh dear, now that is not what you want to do there, going through, I think that was turn 8, heading into turns 9 and 10 at Carousel. So Chad Duncan has just cost himself a good 2 to 3 seconds by that mistake on his own.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to do when you're trying to extend that gap with the pit stop window. This is Baxter just getting loose at the end of the carousel there and essentially tank slapping it back. Drivers right, stand on the brakes before you hook it back. Drivers left into that concrete wall. But that's actually a pretty high-speed clip on that racetrack. Wouldn't be surprised to see him come in and take that fast repair, take a brand new car out there. Gonna see here, 7.5 minutes remaining. There goes our leader into pit road. So Dylan Scott has to hit that pit lane speed limiter, but Chad Duncan stays out on the racetrack.
Well, James Baxter, the front upright on that car, was all over the place after he tank slapped into the wall on the right-hand side. So BJ Fulton at the moment is now making his way through out of, I think that was out of Canada corner. So now he's going to be very, very close. Let's see what happens here, because Chad Duncan has got a big old lead. The gap between Duncan and Scott now is expanding. 18, 20 seconds. Dylan Scott has been on his marks for over, well, 8.45 seconds. He's towards the end of pit road. Here comes BJ Fulton with a head of speed. He's not going to get past him, I'm afraid, but the chase is on. As will we see Chad Duncan, as we've got just under 7 minutes to go until the end of the race, as we see Del Toro and Russell now dive into pit lane. Larry Haas has yet to do so, and he's just jumped into pit lane. So all the GT4 cars at this late stage of the race have decided to dive into pit lane, but Chad Duncan, the only driver out of the 11 starters in GTE, has stretched it out this far. We're now about to complete lap 15 very, very shortly, but this could be an inspired decision by the Californian in the 83. Let's not forget he qualified on the outside of the front row with BJ Fulton taking pole position. Fulton is currently 4 seconds behind Dylan Scott. So if Duncan says, well, I've got, if I maximize my opportunity in terms of lap time, just be fast, well, be slow enough but fast enough to still keep that car running on fumes. But I think the time is ticking for the 83 here, Joe, because he's just coming out of the final corner. And as I say that, he dives into pit lane. So Dylan Scott should very shortly be retaking the race lead.
And where the undercut kind of fell flat for BJ Fulton was he did the right timing in terms of diving down to pit lane. It was just unfortunate that the Cayman stayed out there on the racetrack, so he himself had to drive through that Cayman GT4 field, and he definitely lost probably a good second or two trying to navigate his way around when essentially the undercut was trying to capitalize on that loss of momentum from the leaders. But BJ Fulton climbing the front straightaway here. Jad Duncan still stationary in his box. I think that he's going to at least pick up second place. Jad Duncan blending back out onto the racetrack. This is going to be a drag race down into turn number 1. It seems like the black and yellow number 83 hangs on to second place for now, but BJ Fulton, a whole head of steam, is going to be looking down to the inside of turn number 3, deep on the brakes, and he gets the pass done.
Well, it was only a matter of time, and there we go. Change for second position on the road. BJ Fulton gets through on Jad Duncan, and that is for second. More importantly, we have 4 minutes and 20 still to go down into turn 5. Jad Duncan was hoping for an opportunity to get through, but BJ Fulton said, no, not this time. You are not going to get through on me on this particular occasion. And more to the point, it is going to be the case of how quickly can Fulton get away from Duncan. Well, that has been quickly shown because he's just got a 7/10 of a second advantage, and that is climbing by each and every corner here. But it is going to do that little bit of that, what we like to call that pendulum swing, where it'll go from 7/10 to 6/10 as Momaya and Tercy are battling away for the final. Oh, and Momaya has just gone like literally. There is so much gravel on this track, and more has been kicked up out of turn number 14 by John Momaya in the number 6 car, and he's lost out to Michael Tercy as Jad Duncan still on the hunt. He's closing that gap to BJ Fulton, so I think 82 and 83, they're really coming to loggerheads in this final couple of moments.
Yeah, well, the time is starting to run out here because I see Dylan Scott up the road. He is about to cross the start-finish line with about 3 minutes left remaining, so that should be, call it, 2 more laps. So if Jad Duncan is going to get this pass done, he's got about, call it 8 miles in order to get this pass done. A little bit far away here in turn number 1, but just about taking maybe 1 car length out. He does a really nice job through the apex right there, and then turn number 3 is so important to nail the exit, carve the inside here, roll up all over that driver's exit curve. But BJ Fulton, he himself does a really nice job, keeps this black and yellow 83 and call it about 4 car lengths.
Yeah, it's nice to see this onboard here, as you can just see the speed telemetry down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens going into turn 5. He was pushing the best part of over 165 miles an hour. Now underneath the bridge into turn 6, 70 miles an hour. Now accelerate through into turn 8 very shortly. You can just see how quickly the change of direction is, how sudden it is on the 911 RSR GTEs down to second gear. And once again, it's going to be out of turn 8 after the hurry dance through now into turns 9 and 10 at Carousel. 100 and just look at the amount of commitment, smooth steering input through turns 9 and 10 by Jad Duncan. Now going to run into the kink at 150 miles an hour at 6th gear. That is incredible commitment by all of our drivers to be at that speed in these high downforce GTE cars. Now down into 3rd gear, 80 miles an hour through Canada Corner, then up the brief incline through Thunder Valley into the Bill Mitchell bend at turn number 13, and then it's a slight descent downwards into turn 14 here at the final corner, and then 2nd gear, 3rd, 100 miles an hour, 4th gear, burying the throttle to the floor. 1 lap I think remains here because Dylan Scott has already started lap number 18. We're just waiting official confirmation by our timing tower that we will be on the final lap of this race. But Dylan Scott, the 08, who started from the inside of row 2, has just been an absolute stalwart. Nothing has put this man's nose out of joint. He's met every challenge head on. Was trying to get past Jad Duncan and BJ Fulton, but before the first safety car, he managed to get the job done, and he hasn't put a foot wrong since.
Just got to navigate through a couple of these. Oh, that was a little bit closer than probably what it needed to be as he goes by some of these Cayman lapped cars. But yeah, just really well managed, really well executed here from Dylan Scott out front. Ever since he had the clean air, you know, there was really no threat. He was able to grow that gap initially off of that green flag when he got the lead, and then off of that restart, it was just pretty much no competition in that rear view mirror. And that's not always easy to do either. As the leader, you have to go out there and mandate that pace. Dylan Scott was up to the challenge in 4 seconds and growing here with a handful of corners remaining at Road America.
Yeah, as he fires it through out of the kink, and then the run down through Kettle Bottoms for what is going to be the final time. It has been confirmed. We are on the 18th and final lap of this 8th round out of 13 for the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League Season 1 for 2025. Dylan Scott might not have been the best driver in qualifying, but the race has very much been his tour de force here this very day. And it's going to be one more corner to go out of the final turn. Turn number 14, lap 18, as flames shoot from the back of the 911 RSR. It's Dylan Scott in the 08 that will pick up the victory here in round number 8. And we look a little bit further back, it's by a car length. BJ Fulton, our pole sitter in race 8 out of 13, takes P2 by just 2.5 tenths of a second ahead of Jad Duncan. Here comes Mark Rondo in the Hot Wheels liveried number 11. He finishes 5th behind Michael Bolton in the number 127. Dustin Heindel with the biggest set of eyeballs I've ever seen on the livery of and on the hood of any car I've ever had the opportunity to commentate on. That car crosses the line in P6. Daniel Viverco with still front end. It looks like he's hit a lamppost of some description, the way the front bumper's indented on that RSR GTE. But it's going to be one man. Joey, who's it going to be? It looks like got a great thing coming up, but drama for Masiniak in the final moments. He's always lost the back end and he's hit the wall.
That's so unfortunate for that number 35 car. Remember, we were talking about Marciniak when it comes to those championship points, was only a single point behind this driver. Federico Del Toro, the classic gray with the red wheels, the red highlights that he's got going on this Cayman GT4 machine. He is always learning every single week out there, trying to pick up something new at every racetrack that they go to, and had a little bit of a challenge off of the start, and then the restart kind of had a big accordion effect behind him, but he was able to kind of manage everything, and I'm sure he'll go back and learn from those situations. All he's got to do is climb the hill here at Road America. Don't worry about the blinking. His internet connection's been a little bit spotty here and there. He will claim the win in that number 27. Rob Russell here in this number 7 car will finish 2nd in that Cayman GT4 class. And I think I see Adam Abrams right now rounding out of that final corner. He will round out that podium.
Yeah, so good to see that Federico Del Toro will continue to lead the way in the GT2 class, as it's called. We've got GT1 and GT2s, but we've got the GTEs and the GT4s. Laurie Harson, what a shame for Christopher Marciniak. He was so close to being in the top 3, but you can see the stricken damage on the left front of that car. It's possibly damaged the upright and the lower suspension as a direct consequence. No rear wing to speak of, but he brings it across the line in P5. Well, let's have a look at the results for round 8 out of 13 for the Porsche Owners Club. Dylan Scott, the 08, started from the inside of row number 2, takes the W here at America's National Park of Speed by 4.17 seconds, ahead of pole sitter BJ Fulton, who nipped it in the bud and got the undercut on Jad Duncan by not just being earlier in the pits, but also got the move done on him on track, and that was quite crucial. Duncan rounds out the top 3 ahead of Michael Bolton, with Mark Rondeau rounding out the top 5. Great recovery drive from Dustin Heindel, the number 117, involved in the trenches and the gravel more than once here tonight. He rounds out 6th position ahead of Daniel Viverco. Jeffrey Shulham, another driver that had dramas, so did Doug Boccigioni and James Baxter, the last of our classified finishers in the GTE class. Robert Leclerc, unfortunately, his race came to an abrupt end. May have had technical dramas, finished on lap number 6. Joey, take us through how things rounded out in GT4 here tonight.
Yeah, it was Federico Del Toro taking that class win in that number 27 car. Rob Russell finishing in 2nd with Adam Abrams rounding out the podium. Larry Haas finishes in 4th with Marciniak. We kind of documented those troubles at the very, very end for him. Finishes in 5th. Michael Terzi was kind of an up and down day, finishes 6th, and John Momeyer 7th in class.
Okay, well, we do have some drivers to interview first of all. Let's go through to our GT4 class. Federico Del Toro joins us. Federico, congratulations. A convincing, well-deserved win. How was it for you today?
It was crazy today because I'm in a new house and the internet is in and out. Sometimes I get a lot of latency and lost packages. It took me out half of qualifying. It was just really crazy and tough.
But still, despite the internet issues with the latency, and we did see some blinking as well, you managed to pick up the win by 7 seconds amidst some good competitive drivers within this Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League. How are you feeling after getting across the line first? And as they say, to finish first you must finish, and you definitely proved that despite the internet issues.
Yeah, I tried hard. It's kind of hard when you get in those signs all the time, you know, that latency. But yeah, I just tried to stay focused on what I was doing and finish the race.
Yeah, and Road America, not an easy one. One of the things myself and Joey noticed, which we sort of tipped our hats to, was just the fact we had a couple of the GTE drivers. I think it was Heindel and Baxter were trying to come through, it was Heindel and Rondeau after their early incident, and you all kept really good spatial awareness, but you nearly had a bit of a scare courtesy of one of the GTE cars because it cut right across the front of your vehicle in the early stages.
Yeah, they kind of lost it on turn 1, I think, turn 1 or 2, and they were all over the place. There were people coming back onto the track. It was kind of hard to try to keep the people behind me aware where I'm at and the people in front and the GTE cars at the same time.
Yeah, but of course it all ended well for you, Federico, so congratulations. A win here at Road America. Of course, there's a little bit of a wait. We've got round 9 coming up very soon, which will be Suzuka. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yes, definitely. Suzuka is going to be a fun one. Hopefully I'll have all my internet issues resolved by then.
Brilliant. Federico, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Everybody that's helped me, everybody that puts up with my practices, my wife, my friends, everybody. Just all of the people that helped me a lot.
Brilliant. Federico, thank you very much for your time. Well done on the W tonight, and we'll see you next time for round 9 at Suzuka.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
So there we go, Federico Del Toro, our GT4 class winner. Next up, let's bring in Rob Russell. Rob, second place, 7 seconds adrift of Federico, but nevertheless a really, really good competitive GT4 class here today.
Yeah, thanks guys. I'm just happy to not crash in the first lap this time. I think I was 2 for 2 in the last couple of races, so nice to finish one out.
And also to be on the rostrum as well is not a bad feeling at all, is it?
No, and Federico's just so fast. He's pretty hard to catch every race, so I don't know how he does it. Yeah,
do you think you could possibly fire back at the next round? Because Suzuka, it's just it's a different animal altogether. We've got the only Grade 1 figure of 8 track in the world that everyone's going to have to contend with. A lot of high speed, a lot of directional changes. It could be a good one for the GT4s, I think, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, slipping the car in's nice on that kind of track, and I think I'm going to spend a little more time the next couple of weeks preparing for this one so I can be a little more competitive. But overall, yeah, just excited to keep going.
Yeah. But still, some great battling right at the front end. I mean, Christopher hit some trouble with, I think Joey was saying during the broadcast that Mr. Marciniak was being a little bit bullied and then had a big drama later on in the race. It's always that thing that at certain tracks it's going to be the case of you've got to be very, very careful of how you maneuver the car around the corners, and especially when I was talking to Federico about the drivers that were coming through, so like Rondeau and Heindel, who got caught up in that multi-car incident in the GTEs. They were coming through like an absolute freight train. Sometimes you've really, really got to keep your eyes on a stalk, haven't you, when those GTEs just come flying past?
Yeah, I think I was making good leeway on Adam there when they were kind of battling with us, and I kind of lost another second or so. But I think Adam made a couple mistakes after that and ended up being able to take advantage of it. But yeah, the first 15 minutes or so, everybody was battling pretty hard, and it was pretty fun. And then we all kind of found some space and finished it up. So yeah, pretty fun race.
Brilliant. Well, Rob, congratulations on your second place finish in the GT4 class here at America's National Park of Speed. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, shout out all my buddies. I don't know. No, not really. Shout out you guys. Thank you guys.
Brilliant, Rob. Thanks so much for joining us in the post-race interview show. We'll see you next time out for round 9 at Suzuka.
Cheers.
Well, big thank you to Federico and Rob there. Time to hand over to Joey, who's got Dylan Scott, our GTE race winner, with us.
Yeah, Dylan, congratulations on the race win.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It was entertaining, to say the least.
Well, that first lap, there was a lot going on, but thankfully it was mostly in your rearview mirror.
You know what? I made my way from third into first. I thought, great, right? Let's just pull away here while we got a bit of a lead, and then out came the full course caution. I thought, oh, that isn't going to go well. I thought I was going to get mugged on the front straight because I put a little more downforce on the car, to help it corner better than straight line speed. So I really thought I was going to get done over in the draft, but no, it worked out pretty well. So all things considered.
Yeah, and then could you just kind of talk us through the rest of the race? It seemed like once you kind of got that gap, it was just kind of clean sailing for you.
Yeah, I've done plenty of stupid things in the past, including spinning on the last lap or second last lap. So I'm trying to iron out those mistakes, make sure I don't do that again. So, I kind of kept an eye on my delta. Once it was between 2 to 4 seconds, I just made sure I hit every single mark. 0 incident race. Didn't want to overbrake the car, didn't want to get it loose. I don't know what was going on in qualifying. Qualifying was not good for me, but I think the setup that I had for the race was a lot better, and it felt pretty good. So I figured if I keep it a couple tenths under, the possibility of what it could do, I'm going to keep the tires under me. At no point was the car pushing. It just felt good the entire race. So I'd rather do that and come home, 10, 20 seconds off what I could finish versus throwing it away. Just not worth it.
Well, it was well managed out front. The pit stop you nailed as well, so didn't really lose any time there. Perfectly executed in my book, and you walk away with a win. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to or say hi to?
Yeah, well, quickly, I did run out of fuel into the pits, so I almost didn't make it to my pit box. But that said, quick shout out to my kids, Nico, Luca, Aurora, love you guys. Shout out to POC and the people in it. They are a good bunch of people. And a shout out to GSRC. It's always super entertaining to watch the feed afterwards. I know it's us watching ourselves, but you guys make us look good. So thank you to you guys.
Well, that was Dylan Scott driving that number 08 car, coming home with the overall win here today. Alex, I think that's going to do it for all of our RSR podium interviews.
Yes, indeed. A big thank you to everyone that's been watching along with us here on GSRC. A big thank you is also to Porsche, where there is clearly no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com for all the new releases that this fantastic brand based out of Stuttgart can provide for your performance needs on the road. And also a big thank you to Top Gun MG, helping financial advisors be the best of the best. Contact them today at topgunmg.com. That is topgunmg.com. A big thank you to the team here behind the scenes at GSRC, from Joey, Christian and Dougie. Please don't forget to give us a like, share and subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Don't forget you can find us on social media. Next time out, the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing League will head to, well, according to this, it's going to be Sebring on the 6th of May. So the Sebring International Raceway will host round 9 of the season, and that'll be 1:55 in the morning UTC, or 9:55 Eastern Daily Time. That'll be when the Porsche Owners Club, founded 70 years ago, will be back in action here on GSRC. And also we've got more on the broadcast lineup coming up here with the Fact of Grand Prix Legends, Saturday, April 26 at 13:30 UTC, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Daily Time. Charlotte Speedway will be the host of that particular one. The IMSA Vintage Series will also venture to these very parts of the United States, so America's National Parker Speed will host that. That'll be at 5 p.m. UTC, 1 p.m. Eastern on the 26th of April. The Skip Barber Racing School Series goes to the Garden of England, Brands Hatch in Kent, on Sunday, April 27th at 9 a.m. UTC, 5 a.m. Eastern. And then, of course, the classic Lotus Grand Prix Series heads to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pachi. Nearly got my words out wrong there because it's quite early where I am at the moment. At Interlagos on the 27th of April at 4:30 p.m. UTC, 12:30 EDT. And that's it from ourselves here at GSRC. This has been a Genesis Extreme production. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, race hard, race fair. And if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.